We always begin with a prayer to dive into Torah. And here it is. So just let's settle. After a day of rain, for some of us, a day of a lot of work, for some of us, too much screen time, for some of us, too much alone time. But now we're together, we're in this circle of friends and folks who are not yet friends. I love the phrase that Valerie Kaur came up with, which is a friend I've not yet met. So the idea that we really are all connected, and how are we fortunate to, and we are often fortunate to actually be connected. And so tonight, Torah is what's connecting all of us. And here we have this prayer. So
a quick question.
It looks like we're missing the first part of it got all screwed up in the Hebrew.
The Hebrew is a mess.
No, it's not a mess.
No.
It's just backwards.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's left to right.
I don't know how that happened.
Right.
I copied it out of something and I didn't realize that it was a mess. So
It's not a mess, though.
Perfectly
all right.
backward.
So we'll start here. We're going to read it from right to left.
Left to right.
Can you see my pointer or no?
Left to right.
No, I mean, I can do a point. I can do a point with the transliteration. Give me a second.
All right. So the transliteration is right. The translation is right.
The
But
Hebrew's right. It's just backwards.
it's just backwards.
The
So-
Hebrew is perfect. I've never seen it written like that.
All right.
Never will again.
All right. All right. So let's just take a breath and arrive.
Baruch atah
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech
Melech
haolam
Olam
asher
asher yishanu b'mitzvotav v'anu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
And let's do it in English as well. Blessed are you, Adonai
our God,
sovereign
Sovereign of the universe,
Who has
sanctified us with commandments,
and
commanded us
to be
to
engaged
engage with
with
words of Torah.
Amen.
Amen.
So we can take that down now. Thank you. I have asked everyone to have a Torah with them of some kind. If there's one of you who didn't know that and doesn't have a text in either English or Hebrew, whatever works for you, we can put it up for you because Ned is so great. But maybe just there is a way to raise your hand or to wave to me if you.
Does everybody know how to use the raise hand function?
Okay, Steve. Okay, good. Steve,
Yeah.
you need a text.
I do.
Okay.
It's
Ned,
really you can
Yeah.
go to safaria.org.
Oh, I gotta go to Safaria. Where's my head? Okay, yeah,
Okay.
Safaria.
Amazing. I put
So-
it in the chat.
okay, great. Safaria.com. We're going to be looking, this week's Torah portion is Chaye Sarah, and that's how we're doing our meetings. We're not going through everything we're doing. Those of you who have been here before know that we are diving in to the portion of the week. So this week we are at Chaye Sarah, which is Genesis chapter 23. And I would love somebody who has a book in front of them I'm going to call on Heshi. He's going to read the first verse of the Torah portion.
Okay.
King David was old, well advanced in years, and even though
Whoa.
wait, is
That's
this
not where we are.
Sorry, hang on. I'm gonna share a screen right now.
Genesis 23, verse 1.
You're at the end of the section instead of the beginning.
1 second here.
Right there.
23:1? Sarah lived to be 127 years old. Such was the span of Sarah's life.
All right. So we're just starting with that. Oh, perfect, Ned. Thank you so much. The name of the portion is Chaye Sarah, which means Sarah's life. And here in the very first sentence, what do we learn?
She lived to be 127 years old.
Right.
Died.
And then she died. So we find, and he didn't even read the second sentence. Maybe just read the second sentence as well, please.
Sarah died in
Kiryat Arba.
Kiryat Arba in the land of Canaan, and Abraham proceeded to mourn for Sarah and to bewail her.
So here we have a portion that's named for her, and yet she's dying. So I wanted to begin with this, this beautiful and poignant fact about this portion, that we have a portion, we don't have a lot of parshiot, portions in the Torah that are actually named for someone. We have quite a few, but not everyone. And in fact, Abraham's name doesn't come up as the name of a portion. But here we have Sarah, who started out as Sarai. And then last time we met, we talked about the fact that when someone has a name change, we honor that name change. We don't go back to the previous name, even though I just did, but for historical purposes. But then we call that person the name that they now have. And I found this a very important teaching for us in the LGBTQ community, that because many of us have indeed changed our names or chosen names. And this is, as we mentioned when the last time we met, when someone becomes a Jew, there is a very strong tradition of honoring the fact that they are now a Jew, and we don't bring it up to them. If they want to mention it, if they want to say something about their life before they join the Jewish community, it's up to them. But it's a challenge for some of us because we grew up in tight Jewish communities where there was a lot of talk about who was Jewish. And so in the same way, I loved the idea of honoring where someone is now. Oh, now she's a Jew. That's it forever. I don't want to talk about her as a Ger Tzedek, as an honorable Jew by choice. If she wants to bring it up, it's one thing. But for us, our challenge is to treat this person and to welcome this person and to hold this person as if they've been here all along, because they've made this life choice. And this is true also, obviously, for trans folks. And for others in our community who have chosen a way of being and are living a way of being where that might be different from how we first met them, or how they first appeared to us, or how we grew up with them in our high school or whatever. But oh, now they are who they are. And so that was what we talked about a couple weeks ago. And now we are honoring the lifespan of Sarah, who is really the first matriarch. And I wanted to share some midrashim with you. So maybe first I'll ask, who knows what midrash is? Who would like to share with everybody what midrash is? So I need to get to see. Let's see. I'm gonna put on view. Can I see everybody? The gallery. Yeah. If I can see the gallery, I have to. So, are there any hands raised? Who would like to take a stab at defining midrash? Jerry.
Actually, I don't want to do that. I just want to go back for a second. It's also traditional to name a convert after either Sarah or Abraham. So you say, but so-and-so, but Sarah, right?
Well, it's actually both. So that
Abraham Sarah, yeah.
Yes, so that when a person is called to the Torah, they are they've chosen the name Yehoshua ben, the son of Abraham Sarah, or whatever whatever name they choose. So thank you for reminding us. And this is after the tradition that Abraham and Sarah brought many Jews to Judaism because they were the first ones after all.
The other thing is that one of the words for cemetery is Beit Chaim. Even though it's a place of death, it's called in Hebrew a house of life. So that might go along with that might have come from this chapter being called the life.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I'll have to investigate that, but I do know that that's one of the names of the cemetery.
Right, it is. Okay, so now I wanted to turn to some midrashim, and I wonder who.
Esther, oh my
bit.
gosh, Ellen has her hand up too, I think.
Oh, good, Ellen, good. I couldn't see you, so please. Ellen.
So I think of a midrash as being something that a story that explicates or embellishes something that's in the Torah.
Wonderful. Okay, who else would like to share their understanding of midrash? Nikki?
Yeah, to me, it's a way of filling in the blank spaces between the parts of the Torah that aren't there.
Ah, perfect. So right here in this little part that Ned has so helpfully drawn up for us, is the beginning of a lot of opportunity for filling in the blanks. So now, Ned, I'm going to ask you to put up the sheet that says Midrashic sources or Parashat Chaye Sarah. So this is a different screen share that Ned has that I sent over to him. Yes.
Isn't a midrash also from a particular person's perspective? I mean, a midrash is like an opinion, isn't it? Or is it?
Well, it's an opportunity, as both Ellen and Nikki said, to fill in some of the blanks. So it's to flesh out the story, because as we saw in the previous piece of the previous text that was right in front of us, there's not much there. You know, it just says Sarah lived to be 127 years old. Such was the span of her life, and she died. Now, we've had a description of some of her life before, but here is the opportunity for us to fill in some of the blanks, or for someone to fill in some of the blanks. And Midrash has been a particularly fertile area for both feminist and LGBT interpretation, because traditionally we have midrashim, we have books of midrash written by our rabbis over the centuries. They were all male, and they, for the most part, came from a heteronormative point of view. And so midrash has been this really rich opportunity for us to think about different ways of interpreting everything. I am sharing with you traditional midrashim tonight. One of the most quoted midrashists is when we often say, well, what does Rashi say? He is a early French commentator on the text. He often turns to the midrash, and he often turns to Bereshit Rabbah. We're going to look at some of that midrash. It's a little farther down on the page. But I wanted us to just to get a taste of midrash tonight. And these are from a book or a compilation called Legends of the Jews that is available in English. I got this from Sefaria, so you can all go on and find it if you want it. I do own it in book form in my library in Philadelphia, but as I've already said, I'm not even home, so I get to use the library that's on my computer. And I wanted us to look, and these are just page numbers, and I was able to copy them off Sefaria. So this is no big secret, but it's from volume 1, chapter 5. The first part was, I'm going to skip that now because I have a lot more that I want to say tonight. So I would love someone to read this page 264. Muriel, would you be willing to read? Oh, but you have to unmute yourself, my friend.
Can
Great.
it be made a little bit bigger?
I don't know. Ned, can we make it any bigger? I don't think so, but
I can try
if not, we'll have another reader. I don't want you to struggle.
reading it.
Okay.
The death of Sarah was a loss not only for Abraham and his family, but for the whole country. So long as she was alive, all went well in the land. After her death, confusion ensued. The weeping, lamenting, and wailing over her going hence was universal, and Abraham, instead of receiving consolation, had to offer consolation to others. He spoke in the mourning people, he spoke to the mourning people and said, "My children, take not the going hence of Sarah too much to heart. There is one event unto all, to the pious and the impious alike. I pray you now give me a burying place with you, not as a gift, but for money." Somehow it didn't.
So, by the way, at the very top, when it says you are viewing Ned Hanover's screen, next to it, it says view options, and each of us can control the size of the print.
Oh,
Okay, so do you see where it says in black view options? Next to the green?
oh,
Don't we have that? Is that on everybody's or just mine?
It's on everyone's.
Okay, all right, so you can make it bigger.
oh, wow.
So thank you, Ned, and thank you, Muriel, for reading that. And I wanted to share this with you because the whole idea of this communal loss and how, I mean, we in America have experienced a number of communal losses. Now, we had RBG's death in the last couple months. We had the loss of John Lewis. And there was a real clarity, I think, for some of us that, of course, this is a very private loss for this particular family, for the colleagues, in the case of RBG on the Supreme Court, but there's this sense of loss in the whole country. For those of us who had looked to this amazing jurist who lived with such clarity of purpose and through her bouts of cancer, and she was so indefatigable. And, the fact, I mean, some of you, I hope a lot of you saw the RBG exhibit at the Jewish Museum downtown in Philadelphia. So I wanted to just bring up this idea of what it means when the whole community has lost someone, and that here it's written for us in this on page 264, that this also impinged in a way on Abraham's own mourning, that he felt he almost had to take care of other mourners. And I've known other people in a position of who had some kind of public role where they felt like, wait, what about my mourning? I'm taking care of all these other people who are mourning. I'd be very happy to hear about others' responses to this, this part that we read. Any other responses? I can't see you all at once. That's the one real downside of this.
What you can do to just between the text and the pictures, and hold your cursor and pull over and see all the pictures.
Oh, thank you.
That's because we have a small enough group.
Ah, great. Thank you, Susan, for that. Okay. Anyone want to say something about this particular midrash that I shared? Or
I did want to say something also.
Please.
So when you've lost someone in your family, people come to your house, so you're almost in the position of host to take care of them, yet you're supposed to be mourning. And it depending who else is there, what they step up to do, I can see this. You're concerned about the other people, and including for their loss too.
Yeah, Heshi,
You're muted.
you're muted, my friend.
Abraham is a very generous, gregarious guy. You know, he invites people into his tent. You know, he's all about taking care of people, and he doesn't want anything for himself. And so when he says, you know, I pray now, give me a burying place with you, not as a gift, but for money, you know, he just can't accept anything. He can't accept anything from anyone else. He's got to be the one who is needed. He doesn't need, he is the one who is needed. And so I think it lends itself to more of who Abraham is as a person, his personality.
Thank you. Anyone else on this point? Yes, Chip.
So my understanding of Jewish tradition is at a funeral, when people come to see the family to greet them at the funeral, the family doesn't even supposed to stand up. They're supposed to be seated. So they're supposed to fully mourn and be allowed to mourn.
Well, thank you. I was actually going to say something about that, there are many really beautiful traditions that really preserve the sanctity and the honor the grief of the mourner. So that even as Susan says, there's this, well, wait, shouldn't I be getting up and serving my guests? The answer is no. And there, you know, of course, somebody has to come and tell us that. So often it will be a friend, as Chip knows some tradition, or someone who knows that in Jewish tradition, really the mourner stays, you know, it can be sitting in the room, and it's our job as the ones who are comforting the mourner to come forward and also to see, what does the mourner need right now? We serve the mourner. We also want to see, does she want to talk? Does he want to be quiet? Does he want to have people around him? You know, and to sense the mood of the one who is mourning. And even to come and, I mean, I went to a house of mourning once that was so filled with people that I came in, I paid my respects to the people who were mourning, and I left even before the minyan started, because it was wall-to-wall people. It was too crowded. And it, you know, I later thought, boy, Sue, that's really weird. You left before the minyan. But the house was so jam-packed. And I felt that it was more respectful to let the people who were there be present for the mourners. And what that means is that the responsibility really is on us as the visitors. And of course, this is all so different now because we're in COVID. So that's a whole other story, but I'm glad you asked that, Susan. Chip, thank you for bringing it up. We could do a whole series of wonderful and rich classes on Jewish traditions of death and mourning. And to remind us that we have this very, very rich corpus of traditions that really help carry us through these hardest parts of life. So thank you. Anyone else want to say something right now? All right, I want to move ahead because this is such a rich portion, and I know I'm going to regret that we don't have enough time to do everything, because the next part of the portion is really very wonderful. So I would love Ned, I'm going to ask you to put up chapter 24 from Sepharia, Genesis chapter 24. And I would love someone who would be willing to read it, starting with, we're going to read pretty quickly and just read the English because it's very, very rich. And I want to get to some crucial activity that happens. So Susan, would you be our reader?
Sure.
Please.
And I'm going to read from the Women's Commentary.
Great.
Abraham was old, well advanced in years, and Adonai had blessed Abraham in every way. Abraham now said to his slave, the elder of his household, who had oversight of all that was his, "Put your hand under my thigh, so that I may have you swear by Adonai, God of heaven and God of earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from among the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose midst I dwell. Rather, you shall go to my land, my birthplace, and get a wife for my son Isaac." The slave replied, "Suppose the woman does not care to follow me to this land. Should I then bring your son back to the land you came from?" Abraham then answered him, "Take great care not to bring my son back there. Adonai, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house, from the land of my birth, who spoke to me and promised me, saying, 'To your descendants will I give this land,' will send a divine emissary before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. But if the woman does not care to follow you, you are released from this oath of mine. Only do not bring my son back there." The slave placed his hand under his master Abraham's thigh and swore to him concerning this matter. Keep going.
Yeah, I think I'm going to just break there to see, is there anything there that kind of blew your mind that was in the Torah that you didn't know about before? Or that you've noticed tonight again in a different way?
It's the slave, elder of his household, who had oversight of overall.
Yeah. So tell me why that is interesting to you, Susan.
I don't see a slave having that kind of power. This is more like your best assistant, your advisor, almost.
Wow. Okay. Who else would like to respond to this?
Well,
How about the hand on the thigh, guys?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I
What
wanted
is
to say.
that?
Okay, Eve.
Yeah, I never heard of putting a hand under the thigh before.
Okay, would anyone like to respond to this?
That's how people swore.
Okay, you want to say more, Jerry?
Because a man would expose his genitals, which is a really sensitive, important part of his body, and the fact that he would let another man's hand come near there and not be afraid was a sign of some kind of agreement.
So the seriousness of this request, and as Susan asked, a slave, and I'm already thinking ahead to Joseph, who is also a slave. So, but a very trusted member of the household, and the seriousness of this task that he is assigned. So because I really want to talk about more, I'm just going to really encourage everyone to read this carefully, and maybe somebody who's read it before and knows the story, what happens when Eliezer goes and arrives at the place, at a well. So also symbol of well, of water, of nourishment. And what I think I do want to do is have you go down a little farther, Susan, and let's see, and I'm going to ask you also, Ned, to go down a little farther, and I want you to pick it up at verse, okay, at verse, just go at 10, which is where you left off. Susan, verse 10, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I have to go back to 10.
Okay.
The slave then took 10 of his master's camels, and laden with an abundant store of his master's goods, got up and went to Aram Naharaim, to the city of Nahor. He made the camels kneel down outside the city at the water well at eventide. at the time when the girls who draw water go forth. And he prayed, Adonai, God of my master Abraham, please bring me luck today and do a kindness for my master Abraham. Here I am standing at the water fount, and the daughters of the townspeople are going forth to draw water. The girl to whom I say, tip your pitcher and let me drink, and who replies, drink and let me water your camels too, let her be the one you have designated for your servant Isaac. That is how I shall know that you have done a kindness for my master. Before he was done praying, Rebekah, who had been born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, wife of Abraham's brother Nahor, was going forth with her pitcher on her shoulder. She was an exceedingly beautiful girl of marriageable age, whom no man had yet known. She went down to the spring, filled her pitcher, and went up. The slave ran toward her.
Stop. Thank you. So what I'm wondering here again is, what did you hear tonight that you haven't heard before that surprised you, or that you hadn't remembered, or you heard for the first time? Wave and I'll call on you. Now I can see you all, which makes me very happy. No one saw or heard anything when Susan read? Here he prays God, give me a sign. How am I going to know where, Abraham sent me to find a wife? What do I know about this? I'm not a matchmaker. God, give me a sign. And the sign is very specific. The first, let the first one who comes forth. And when I say the following words, tip your pitcher and let her be the one. And she replies, drink and let me water your camels too. So here he's making this prayer and it's answered. It's answered by the perfect person. So on the one hand, we could say, oy vey, just one more heteronormative thing and she's pretty. But we could also say, where does prayer fit for all of us? God, give me a sign. Most of us don't think that way. But here in this story, it really works. Nikki.
What's
Unmute.
interesting to me is, yeah, it's heteronormative, but he doesn't ask that she be pretty. What he's looking for is kindness, both to people and animals. And that's the first trait he thinks to pray for, not let my master find a beautiful daughter-in-law, whatever. So I think he's got his head on straight about what's important.
Great. Who else wants to jump in here? All right, in the issue of time, we're gonna look ahead. Susan, please. Yeah.
Abraham's, is it great niece, if I figured this out right?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see.
Brother Nahor, born to him and his wife, to the son of, so it looks like great niece.
Okay, so there's definitely the relationship, and then the relationship is affirmed when Rebecca takes him home. So there's one wonderful aspect of this. There are many wonderful aspects of this story, but one that I'm going to skip ahead to is that the question is, does Rebecca have any say in this? And I would love you to turn ahead, and Susan, you're so good at this, that I'm going to ask you, the part of the deliciousness for me of this portion is that the story is told again and again, that that we need to repeat it several times. And to me, this is so human, that when there's a story of great import in our life, we need to repeat it again and again, sometimes adding different details. And we want to just have that story be real. And that's what happens in this text. And the rabbis love the fact that it's repeated so many times and they write about it. But I would love you now to say, to go now to still in chapter 24, but we're going to verse 57. So Abraham's slave is ready to go back, and he wants to take Rebecca with. So Susan, would you read line 57, please?
They answered, "Let us call the girl and see what she has to say." So they
All
called
right.
Rebecca and asked her, "Will you go with this man?" And she said, "I will go."
Whoa. This is the first time in the Torah that a woman is asked.
She has agency.
She has agency. Do you want to go? And so now I want to turn to another piece that I sent to Ned, a poem written by Amy Blank. So Ned, if you could bring that poem up, please. This is going to be the penultimate thing we look at tonight. So the Torah, a Women's Commentary, which Susan read out of tonight, is the most recent commentary that we have. And it, as I've mentioned before, we included poetry in the book. So you're now taking a look at one of the poems that we included. And this is written by Amy Blank, who was the wife of a beloved teacher of Torah at Hebrew Union College. And I was fortunate to know her. She was already in her upper 80s when I was a student at Hebrew Union College. And she wrote several books of poetry. And when we were working on the Women's Torah commentary, we were really delighted to be able to include some of her work. And I've always loved this poem of hers. It's quite unique. So I'm going to read it to you tonight. I left home easily, as when the ready seed drops from the tree, carefree, for I knew not what. I stuffed my toys into the saddlebag, braided my hair, and for that dusty journey wore my broidered gown. I chose my camel and set out, light-hearted, to enjoy adventure, scarcely a pang, as tents and trees of home faded into wilderness. But I wondered, how would it be fit to ask that awesome man, Abraham's servant, what manner was he to whom I was betrothed? Better to hold the question, I decided. Isaac, after all, was also kinsman. One more, fabulous Abraham's son, and I would be his daughter. Daughter, sister, wife, hardly a difference in my young mind. So this is an example of poetry as midrash, where Amy Blank fills in the gaps of who is this person, Rebecca? Is she a child? Is she a young woman? How childish is she? Does she know what she has said yes to? Any thoughts, response? Judah, please.
So I was just wondering, like, yes, she was asked if she wanted to come with, but if she had said no, would she have been allowed to stay?
Oh, wow. Great question. We don't know. We really don't know. I mean, clearly her family wanted to have her engagement and her assent. So maybe she would have asked for more time. It's a wonderful question. There you go. We were ready for Judah's midrash next. So she does go, and then I think I want, Susan, since you've been our beautiful reader, I want you to go down now to verse 62 and read 62 and 62, 63, and 64.
Okay. Do we want Ed to go back to Safaria?
Yeah, Ned, if you can, thank you. And then I'll have one more thing to ask you.
Now Isaac was coming from the approach to Be'er Lachai Roi, for he was living in the area of the Negev. Going out toward evening to stroll in the field, Isaac looked up and saw camels coming. And Rebekah looked up, seeing Isaac. She got off the camel and said to the slave, "Who is this man striding in the field coming to meet us?" "He is my master," said the slave. Taking a veil, she covered herself.
All right, then we know there's a happy ending here. They do get together. But what I wanted to do was to share with you a teaching that I was fortunate enough to participate in today. And Ned, we're going to now go to the piece of text that says Institute for Jewish Spirituality at the top of it. So this was a teaching that was shared today with those of us who went online to study with Cantor Kareth Spencer Shapiro. And it's going to come up in a minute, I hope, from Ned. Are you there, Ned?
I'm here looking for it.
Okay,
There
okay.
are too many windows going here.
Okay.
Hard to find
So,
everything.
okay, so this is, so Cantor Spencer Shapiro focused on the line that Susan just read, verse 63. And there's an unusual word in that line in Hebrew. I'm going to read it as Ned is bringing it up. And Isaac went out meditating or walking in the field toward evening, and looking up, he saw camels approaching. So the whole question of meditation, of intentional prayer, is embedded in this parsha. So I wanted to conclude tonight with this gift that Cantor Spencer Shapiro shared with us today. And it also comes back to the beginning of the parsha, or to the part of the parsha that Heshi pointed out, that Abraham's person is looking for kindness. And we are all, of course, looking for kindness. So here, as you would scroll down, please, Ned, for the raising of kinder hands. And you folks can make this a little bigger if you need to. So the idea of here, one of our favorite prayers is the Yivarechecha, the so-called priestly blessing. May God bless us and keep us, and so on. So here, Cantor Spencer Shapiro found a blessing written by someone named Devin Spear, who I've never heard of before, but I thought it was quite beautiful and I wanted to share it with you. So this is in the spirit of Chaye Sarah, in the spirit of remembering those who have come before, who have given us light and life, in the spirit of looking for kindness in the world, and for Isaac and Rebekah finding kindness and love in each other. So I'm offering you these words, and we can send this out to you if you'd like it. May God bless you and keep you just as you have been made, and as you have chosen now in and through your body to be. And then it goes on. May you draw nearer to God every time you meet your own face in the mirror or along the glass of a store. Or if you slip, fall, or are pushed to the sidewalk, may God raise you there, even in time of sharp, life-shattering descent. And may you know your heart, body, and soul to be whole, even as you find yourself in and amidst the societal holes of racism, queer phobia, and violence of every form. And may those in your path fulfill the unconditional promise of true kindness, to honor how you say you want to be treated, to disrupt and disarm the systems and shackles of white supremacy, to work for change for your name's sake. And may all who meet you turn to your face with knowing that you bear the likeness of God. that you are deserving of the justice and peace of a fulsome and unafraid humanity, that the world and God's universe shine greater for you, being as you are in the world. And may you be protected from every spoken and unspoken, institutional and interpersonal, tangible and intangible harm you face. And may God bless your spirit full. Amen. So may we all go forth in blessing on this night and on every night. May we all be safe. May we all be the beneficiaries of kindness, perhaps from strangers, for sure from those who love us. And perhaps we will extend kindness tonight or tomorrow to someone who needs it and find that in giving it, we are blessed as well.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you for sharing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome. Well, thank you. And thank you for enabling me to think about Sarah and Rebecca and Isaac and those who came before us, and the agency of young girls who end up changing their lives in ways they don't know will happen. So we are going to meet again in 2 weeks. We're going to meet on Tuesday night instead of Wednesday, because we didn't want to meet on Wednesday night right before Thanksgiving. And I will look forward to being with you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. So nice to see all the faces.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And Rochelle, we never even got to see your beautiful face, but you're here.
Where? Who?
Oh, you are here. Hi.
There she is.
All right. We look forward to seeing you again, and
Thank you,
and
everybody.
everyone else as well.
Thank you, everybody, and stay safe.
Yes.
You too.
Safe.
Yes.
See you.
Yes.
Bye.
Especially now. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Say hello to Avi.
Everyone have a good night. Thank you.
And Golda B.
Yes, but Golda doesn't know me. I know.
Well, and she's asleep, so she doesn't have much to say now.
How old is she? I forgot.
She just turned 1 last week.
Wow. I'm missing this.
We usually get to see them at bath time on Shabbat.
Yeah. We always start off. We do our we do the blessings and the wine, grape juice for Avi, starting around 5. So by the time services happen, we've already done everything. So sometimes they're a little, like antsy, but we always have it on. And we sing and we dance together, and then it's their bedtime. So we'll turn our video off, and then every once in a while, we'll turn it on just to say, Shabbat Shalom, and make sure they're not fully naked.
Does she have any words? Is she talking at all, or
she isn't? I mean, she's like babbling. She's not saying any words, but she is walking like really well. So yeah, Avi, I think he had a couple, maybe like 1 or 2 words by this time, but he wasn't walking, and she was like running. So
well, she has a brother to keep up with.
It's true. Yeah. So whenever we do meet in the synagogue again, she'll be zipping around with them.
you and Meg will both be up and running.
Yeah. Double duty.
Do you think by the summer?
It's so hard to know.
It really depends on these vaccines.
Yeah.
Some people may not even get vaccinated till summertime.
Yeah.
Well, right. They're not going to do,
because there's limited, and right now the distribution is going to be difficult.
Yeah. The first vaccines are going to healthcare work, all those people.
Yeah.
And then I think elderly people or people with serious
Conditions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So though I'm one of the older people, I don't have those conditions that they.
Well, Well, thank goodness then.
Good, right.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, let's all hope we're not on the first two list, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but my neighbor, someone was saying today that he said he knows he's going to be one of the first. He's got diabetes. He's got, I mean, heart condition. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's just hope there's some positive change
for the country.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys on Friday.
Thank you. Is your mom okay, Ned?
Yeah, she's doing well, thanks.
Oh, good.
Good, good.
Yeah. Yeah, she's hanging in there. Check in with her every day.
Great.
Yeah.
So have a good
All right.
rest of the
All
night.
right.
Good night.
Yeah, you too.
All right. So long, everybody.
All right. Good night.